Welcome to the Blueprint Strategy Podcast, your premier destination for insights and innovations in healthcare and nonprofit leadership. I'm your host, Todd Schmiedeler, and together we'll explore the strategies and stories that are transforming these vital sectors. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and invited to the conversation. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back. Thanks so much for coming back to see us again. I am happy to welcome my new guest in, Darrell Bramer, who is the Executive Director for Operation Parent. I am excited that Darrell's here today. Thanks, Darrell, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I know that your background is diverse.
Yes.
And, you started your career in the for-profit world, and in particular IT, and you've made the jump to the nonprofit world relatively recently, at least from a professional standpoint. Can you give us an idea about your background and how it is that you ended up at Operation Parent?
Sure. So it's kind of a long story, actually. So I had 32 years in corporate America, and, loved it. It had a lot of great business learnings from that, and was in leadership in the IT tech space. And, the last few years of that, I just felt God calling me to something else.
Yeah.
There was just this urge, and I just wasn't happy where I was.
Yeah.
And then about 2.5 years ago, I left that space. Actually, it left me. They said, "Hey, you've been around long enough. We loved you," and it was, no hard feelings. It was great that they supported my family all the way through college, and I have 3 adult children who are thriving. But during that time in my professional career, I also had my passion. I had my professional background, my passion background, and honestly, that passion background was I've always had a desire to help families and kids. So I've been in children's ministry for 20 plus years, family ministry, men's ministry, and so when that happened, 32 years, people were asking me, "Hey, Darrell, are you going to retire?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Man, I'm not retiring. I'm rewiring." And that's
Oh, wow. I like that.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. And so I was at an event, and someone came up to me and says, "Are you retiring?" And I'm saying, "No, I'm rewiring." I said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I just want to do something that's fulfilling, has a purpose." And they knew my background in kids ministry and men's ministry, and they're like, "We may have something for you." And this happened to be a person who worked at Operation Parent.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
those conversations continued to happen, and a few months later, that's how it came to be. So, my passion for families and to see kids to thrive. I saw it in children's ministry where kids were coming through those doors. I saw very families who seemed to be put together, but they still had their problems. I seen families who were broken apart, and they still had their problems. So no matter if you're a family of that you think you have it all together, there's things coming at your kids, and that's why we exist at Operation Parent. So when that opportunity came together, man, it's been a sweet spot ever since.
Well, that sounds like a blessing. I love the rewiring. And, here lately, I've come to realize that the only people who really retire are the people that don't like what they're doing.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If you're passionate about what you're doing, it doesn't feel like the same way that I grew up, like how work was supposed to feel, which it wasn't ever supposed to feel that way.
Yeah.
Passion and purpose can give any job meaning, and then you don't want to retire if you have meaning and purpose behind it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Operation Parent. I know that it does a lot. I happen to know that, you have deliverable things that make an impact on your mission, things like handbooks and you do webinars and you have digital content and you also have events that you kind of package together. Tell us about the mission around Operation Parent and then some of those, how you deliver that out to people.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So our mission is really to empower parents to have these casual, courageous conversations with their kids. What's a casual, courageous conversation?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that might be every conversation, depending on where the kid is.
That's true. But when I was a kid, and even with my kids, I had that 60-minute conversation where we had the family meetings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so we were trying to reverse that and have those 61-minute conversations, and just to have those, there's a lot of topics out there, a lot of things hitting kids today.
Yeah.
Whether that's technology or alcohol, substance misuse,
Yeah.
emotional, mental health, risky behaviors, all those things are coming at our kids. And the more engaged parents are at the beginning, and we're in the prevention space, right? So we're trying to get in front of these things. It's never too late when even you're in the midst of it. But we're trying to get in front of those and allow parents, give them the resources to have those conversations with their kids. And that's the crux of it, is to be able to engage parents, empower parents, equip them, and then call them to action, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I heard a saying the other day, is like, you can't lean on a shovel and pray for a hole. You got to use the tools you're given and actually do it, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great comment.
Yeah.
And I use it every day because it reminds myself even of I gotta take action with
exactly.
And parenting is the hardest but the most rewarding thing that and you know it yourself.
Oh yeah.
With your crew, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and having having 10 kids, and from different situations in our family and from different backgrounds, I can attest to those casual, needed conversations. But I will say, when I first started being a parent, it was more of a come to Jesus kind of conversation than it was an actual conversation of I don't even want to call it prevention, but it was awareness and conversations that I should be having earlier. I just didn't know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, having been a parent for a long enough period of time, I started to understand that I needed to have those casual conversations. And, one of the things I love about Operation Parent is that they put things in context that are actually deliverable.
Yeah.
It's real, and yet it's researched. Tell us a little bit about how you get that information, how you distribute that information, so that, a parent might be able to do some prevention work, or if they're in a crisis, what kind of delivery are you also providing?
Yeah, so I think that goes back to how we started. We're just concerned parents, and we started back with the founder, Jean Shum, having issues with their own kids, right? And she's like, when they got through those issues and made some tough decisions and hard conversations, like other parents got to be going through this. So that's the whole crux of the whole mantra behind what we do, is we want to make it very relevant. But to your point, we have it researched. So we have somebody focused on evidence-based research, and just letting parents know, hey, do you know that this percentage of kids are vaping? This percentage of kids see pornographic messages or ads or things like that. So it's just making them aware first and foremost. But then in our handbooks, we give them that information. So here's what to know. And then here's what to do with it. So how do you have those conversations with your kids? So we give them tips and tricks and just conversation starters to have with the kids. And then we have one of the I think the most widely known resources of Operation Parent are our webinars.
Okay.
So we have free monthly webinars that we bring in experts from across the country, and these experts we have the topics that are a variety of topics, whether that is alcohol, mental health. We just had one on childhood trauma.
Oh, wow. Okay.
One on how do you launch your kids successfully off to school. So those types of
Oh, man.
those types of conversations, and those types of what parents hear, it's just real, and we make it where it's not like we're just talking at you. It's like we're talking with you. And just making a very readable, very consumable. So with our handbooks, we hear so much great feedback on our handbooks because they are so appealing to look at. For one, they're not overwhelming. But it's kind of that one-stop shop of where you have all these topics that doesn't go into great detail, but we have you links off to our webinars and our different things to be able to go into more detail.
Well, when I first saw your handbook, and you told me about the handbook, and I was honestly expecting, I think more like, I hate to say this, but a low quality kind of brochure that was souped up. Okay. And to see the quality and the depth and the evidence-based stuff, but yet digestible. I love, because I say something similar about being a parent. So it's kind of, appropriate. When you said the word, when you're communicating with parents, it's not at them.
Right.
It's
Right.
with them. I like to say that about, the type of parent that I became was to talk with my kids, not at them or even to them.
I became, right? Because it's a
I
journey.
became, it was a journey.
Yeah.
And honestly, I failed pretty miserably for about 14 years.
As every parent has.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that the collection, the uniqueness of what you bring is that you create communities where, people don't always want to openly talk about what they, as a parent, I have, and I think others have, felt like they were failing, and so you don't always want everybody to know your failure. And so you don't get the community help that you really could have because of that. But you create these communities and this ability to have a conversation, both, with, when they're engaging you, but also, with others who might have already dealt with that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you get your messages out about, your partners in the communities, where you're kind of putting your energies to so that you can reach parents.
Right. So there are 32 million families out there with kids 18 and under.
Wow.
So and that's across the nation, right?
Wow.
So that's
I didn't realize that. Okay. All right. 32 million.
And so we have distributed just this past month over 500 or 500,000 handbooks across the nation.
500,000.
Yeah. So and it's thank God, praise God for all that. I mean, we're following His lead, right?
500,000.
500,000.
I mean, I've got friends who've written books. Okay. And a couple that are frankly bestsellers.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they were distributing 500,000 books, they'd be on the best. They are on the bestseller list when they're like that.
This is over the course of our lifetime.
Yeah, it's okay. It's still a book.
Yeah.
That you're providing. Right. That's amazing.
But we see the importance of that. So we go to as many conferences as we can. So there's a lot of prevention conferences out there. We're getting ready to go to the pediatric conference in Denver here in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So we're trying to see how can we reach parents the best way we can, right? So we have we work closely with drug-free coalitions, and drug-free coalitions are groups, are partners with us that are across the nation, made up of different community groups, and they help us distribute our handbooks. So they'll go and they'll get a group of handbooks and have a community event or have a movie night, so that allows us to not, we're based out of LaGrange, Kentucky.
Yeah.
How do you go? How do you get national with that? So, and it's not just about getting national; it's how do you impact more parents, right? So, that's why we've partnered with our drug-free coalitions, and that's why we're trying to also drug-free coalitions are great, and they're a great partner. So, who else where our parents can we impact or can we reach? And that is pediatricians.
Oh, absolutely.
Also,
that's brilliant. I mean, because they're directly
no
involved.
Kid's going to go to the pediatrician
right.
without their parent.
Right.
Schools, we're very involved in schools.
Okay.
We're working closely with local schools as well as schools across the nation. Churches, I've had some great conversations. One of our handbooks. So we have 3 handbooks in English, Spanish, and Christian and faith-based versions. So those handbooks, we have one for middle high school parents and one for elementary parents. And our conversations, and I just see an uptick in this because I believe a lot of churches are really understanding and needing to invest in the next generation. And how do you do that? You help them thrive.
Yeah.
And I think so our conversations with churches here recently has been very it's been encouraging.
Yeah.
So, how are we going to reach those 32 million families?
Yeah.
And so we're just trying anything and everything. Sometimes we'll fail. We just keep moving forward. We fail fast and go to the next thing. So that's our goal, is just try to hit those parents as much as many parents as
I suspect, when that people are like me, that I got a book, when somebody gave me a book, frankly, about being a parent, the first time parent, it was one of those, hey, you're about to be a parent. Here's what you need to know about, having a baby. Okay.
Yeah.
I can only imagine those 500,000 books that you distributed have actually been passed from a parent to another parent.
We hope they are.
And so there's depth in that goes beyond just the sheer magnitude of the 500,000, which is an amazing number.
Yeah.
And I now see why it's so important. And when you said that, you're probably leading deliverable is actually webinars, I can see how the books connect to the webinars, and the webinars give you a little more depth on things and more insights, and you can actually share those with other people as well. And there also is some collective learning.
Yeah.
Tell me about the church and pediatrician side of that. When you're reaching out to them, how do you reach? I mean, there's I got to be thousands of pediatricians and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of churches. How do you reach out to them and, be able to reach them so that they can reach parents?
I think it's really just finding the right, and I think you start local.
Okay.
And then as you create your local, you know, footprint, then you try to replicate that and you go further and further. But I think first is just talking to as many local pediatricians as you can, talking to as local pastors and priests as you can. So I've had those conversations, and just really explaining to them. I was actually talking to a pastor a couple weeks ago, and the word sextortion he had never heard of before, and that is when, unfortunately, you have these situations where kids are sending pictures back and forth. They think to their friends or to their, which is wrong anyway.
Right.
It's a predator, and that person is extorting them. They say, if you don't pay me this amount of money. Well, just making them aware.
Wow.
And that's the biggest thing is we hear a lot of wows. I've never heard of that before.
I actually hadn't heard of that.
And it's I was talking to a gentleman last night at the event we were at, and it was just about the same type thing. And it's just the I guess the passion that we have around this shows.
Yeah.
And I think people, that's why leaders in the church are starting to listen, pediatricians. I mean, we have some local pediatricians that we're working with that are behind us. They're on our board. They're really, helping us push this forward.
So, so you got me on this sextortion. Is that what you called it? Because as you may or may not know, we have 7 girls and 3 boys. But I guess maybe I am patriarchal in nature, and I worry more about my girls than my boys, and that's probably not real.
I got 2 girls and a boy. My poor son.
Yeah, I mean, but the thought of that happening to one of my girls, is very difficult for me emotionally, frankly, And I would think that parents who are getting your resource could also be the catalyst and resource to sharing your mission within those pediatrician offices, the churches, the schools, and that sort of thing. Does that happen very often? And if I were a parent that wanted to share your message with the school or a pediatrician's office or a church, how would I go about engaging you and helping me do that?
Yeah, so I mean, we're right here in Oldham County, and we are right up the street. We can stop by the office. You can call us at the office. Our website, operationparent.org, will give you the ability to contact us as well. We do have some great ambassadors that are not part of Operation Parent as far as employees. I mean, we're a small shop. We're an 8-employee shop, right? So we have a lot of parents who are out there who would say, "Oh yes, we love Operation Parent," and I think that's why we are so successful in some of the school systems, because parents have taken these to the administrations of these schools and say, "Have you heard of this? Have you been around Operation Parent at all?" And has helped us engage and get into the school systems.
So if it's a school or a drug-free coalition or a church, what's the economics around Operation Parent? Because you've got a small staff of 8. You've distributed 500,000 of these books. Needless to say, how many webinars and all these other things that you do. What's the economics of how you run Operation Parent?
Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, a nonprofit world, as we all know, can be tough. So, I mean, we rely highly upon donations. That's individual, corporate. We do fundraising. Today is a big fundraiser for us, online fundraiser. and grants. So we're working with great partners in helping us get grants across, not just locally here, but across the nation. And I think that helps get our brand out there as well. So that's one side of it.
Okay.
The other side of it is what we call we work with our DFCs, and we have community advocates that go out there and work with these different communities. And so our handbooks for the middle high parent handbook, we sell those for $14.99.
Okay.
And we sell them elementary for $9.99. It's a smaller book.
Okay.
And really we have bulk pricing because a lot of these people, a lot of these DFCs and groups buy in bulk.
Yeah.
And that brings in, helps us cover our operating expenses. And the grants, helps us, we're getting ready to launch a new website. So we got a grant for that.
Yeah.
Getting ready to go into a digital online community.
Yeah.
We used to get parents around a table. It's harder and harder to do that, but I think people love to have that community still, and that's what they need is community.
Yep.
And if they're in a community talking about the same cause and the same issues, then it's even more relevant. So I think we use that the grant money and this, any extra money we can get from the more we print, because we print.
Well, there's cost to print. And I was just thinking that when you said, it's 14, I've seen your books, okay? And the quality of the books and again, not a souped up brochure kind of looking thing. I mean, it looks like a real high quality book that also conveys a level of trust as a parent that this is, evidence-based research, real advice. But that costs money. I mean, I hate to say it, but a printing of a nice book costs money. So that $14.99 or the $9.99 really isn't $14.99 or $9.99 to you.
Right.
That helps offset staff costs because you've got the base costs in there. So you're running a real business, not just, and that's a funny thing that I tell people is they think nonprofit is different than for-profit on how to run a business. And I always say the only difference in running those two businesses really is that you've got a tax difference, and you've also got that no matter what happens to you, no person is going to individually benefit from that company.
Right.
The community benefits from that company. And that's the biggest difference between a for-profit and nonprofit. It isn't actually the running of the business.
Right.
Running of the business is the same.
Yeah.
I guess, understanding that, how much are you leaning in on digital content where you might be able to reduce some of your overhead costs on like print? I know that there's still a dire need for print because people like to put their fingers on things, especially parents, but are you leaning in, and is there any shift in over the last couple of years that you've had to adapt to with the changes in technology and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think the things we're looking at, so we have a digital version of these books as well. So
all right.
these
like a Kindle, an ebook.
It's an ebook.
Okay, all right,
but not on Kindle at this point. I think people take our books, and it's not, and you can and you should, but read it front to back. But it's more of, if I'm facing an issue, let's go look at the alcohol or the substance misuse or risk behaviors, dating violence, or so a lot of they're jumping
so it's
around
targeted
yes
for the need that they're dealing with in the moment. They can understand everything globally, but really they're probably in need of a conversation that's more specific, and so that they can hone in on that. Okay, all right.
So
I get that.
Our digital books, I can tell you, is as we've also upgraded our website to have more individuals. When you're searching for parenting advice, we're hoping to be at the top of that list, so parents do come and see us. So we see a lot of individual parents. If they want to purchase, they'll get the digital book a lot of times.
Okay.
But the groups, to your point, people like to, when you're at a conference or when you're at a community event, you want to be able to tangibly hand somebody something.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a great, a lot of parents put that on their coffee table at home, put that on their table, and kids see it too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of conversation starters in that way. So there's a lot of, because I'm thinking, being a tech guy, hey man, the digital is
right.
But I can tell you the print request and the actual tangible, having that book in hand is high, and parents love that.
So, how long have you been at Operation Parent now?
About a year and almost a year and a half now.
Okay. So about 18 months of experience, not to mention your 20 plus years experience in doing kids ministry and stuff. You know, I read more and more about mental health.
Mm.
You know, and I think that, there are a lot of parents dealing with mental health with their kids. And, I don't ever remember using the word depression growing up.
Right.
Outside of we faced a depression in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, I mean, I hear it constantly, and my kids know the term and know kind of the recognition of it. Do you have any advice, for a parent, around mental health and the mental health of kids? Do you all focus on that? Is that one of the areas of focus that you all get some expertise in, that sort of stuff? I know you're not an expert in that.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think it's the magnitude of that has grown over the last decade to a point that I think it's important enough for parents to know that there's some place where they can have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we absolutely see a rise in mental health issues and emotional well-being. I think what we're seeing, and we all have our phones on us, right?
Yeah,
And we see that. And unfortunately, they are great devices. They're great, but there's so much, and there's a time and a place for those.
Yep.
People ask me, when should I get my kid a phone? Well, you're the parent and you know that better than I do, but it's when it comes to making that decision, these phones are open, right? So
Yep.
you can put as many precautions and safeguards on it, but there's always ways around that. And I seen as we go into, I was in an airport not too long ago, and I looked around, and my wife and I looked around, and from 2 to 92, I'd say 98% of the people were looking at some type of digital device.
Yeah.
And to the point of mental health, I think we as humans, as child of God, we are meant for community.
Yes.
We are not meant to be alone. And those devices, while we are able to communicate on those, that's not true community. So my advice as a dad, as a grandpa now of 6 and soon to be 7 kids or grandkids, I'd say put those, you can have, the phones are not evil.
Right.
But
they're a tool.
Yeah. But you put them to, and there is, have that playtime, have that outside time, have that family time, digital free zones. There's the boxes that you just put your phones in at dinner, at whatever time. Just, you got to balance that. And every parent knows that, what's best for their kids.
Yeah.
But that would be my biggest advice, is to have more family time, have more community time, put that device down and talk often, and don't let the topics of, pornography or sex or drugs or alcohol be taboo.
Right.
It just be casual conversations. And if I could, have that with my child, then they're going to come to me first. Parents are the biggest influencers in a child's life. What that influence looks like is up to the parent.
Yeah, and I think that, over the years, even myself, at times I've been afraid to have the conversation for lack of knowledge and lack of confidence, really. And I deferred my influence with my kids to their peers, which I am very confident they had less knowledge and experience and confidence than I did, but I deferred it. And that's an important thing that I had to learn as a parent.
And that's why we say casual, courageous.
Yes.
Because it takes, the parent's not going to be confident and fully confident, but that's why we're here, is to try to help them gain that confidence so they can have those conversations, courageous conversations.
Well, one of my favorite books right now is a book by Dan Sullivan. It's a small book, and it's called The 4 C's Formula, and it talks about these 4 C's of being able to develop new capabilities. And the 4 C's in order are: you have to make a commitment. Then you have to have the courage, because you don't have the capability yet. And I always think about myself riding a bike. My older brother and all my friends, I was the youngest in my neighborhood. They were all riding bikes, doing wheelies and jumping ramps and things. And I really wanted to do that, but I also saw them fall, and I saw, breaking an arm. Okay. And so I had to have, after I made the commitment, yes, I want to ride bikes like them, I had to get to a point where I had the courage enough to get on that bike, because I knew I was going to fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that first bike ride, I don't know about you, but I was like, this, and my mom had to help me. And I remember that, and I had to have this huge courage. But from that courage, the more commitment that I made up front on things, the shorter the time period and the need for that courage, because I was all in.
Mhm.
And from that point, the next C became, I learned that capability. I could ride my bike. And the more I rode my bike and exercised that capability, then I became more confident enough that I started doing wheelies and I started jumping the ramps, and I wasn't the one left behind anymore. And I think that way about my parenting.
Yeah.
That I had to really make a commitment to beyond me and beyond my kids. I had to become a better parent and seek out people and resources like Operation Parent that could help me become a better parent, even though it was really, really scary at times.
Not a perfect parent, but a parent who's engaged, who's trying, who's focused on their kids' well-being, to better yourself so you can better them. Right?
Yes.
And I think that's what parents do a lot of times. They beat themselves up.
Yep.
Because they're not perfect. We're
Yep.
not perfect. We're just called to be. We're called to be engaged and with them. We're a work in progress, just like everybody else, right? And that's what we want to give, is that hope.
Yeah.
And not the, come on, parent. It's more of the hope and help them get engaged.
Yeah. Well, I think parenting is a little like leadership. So I usually end these conversations, by asking a simple question. I think that most of us develop our leadership skills in part because of another leader and mentor who led us.
Mhm.
Can you cite a mentor leader who made a big difference in your life and how they did that?
Well, from early, when you first name that popped in my head was my dad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just the hard work ethic.
How apropos with being Operation Parent that it was your dad who did that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then, but as later in life, as my dad passed, and so one of the mentors that I had was a gentleman by the name of Greg Lane. He was my
Okay.
leader at Humana.
Okay. Yeah.
And a Christ follower. He really helped me put things into perspective over time. He was just always pouring wisdom into me, always having the time for me,
Yeah.
and making the time for me. And I didn't require a lot of time,
Yeah.
but he may tell you different. But he was always there with a smiling, happy, but just wise counsel, and biblical based counsel. So that helped me keep me grounded. And I told you the last few years at my job, it just wasn't there. I wasn't feeling it, and I felt that because he had left.
Yeah.
He had retired and moved down to Florida, and we still kept in contact, but I lost that a little bit. So as I've gone into this new rewiring phase, I've worked with some friends of yours that have mentored me through this nonprofit world and just guiding me, helping me navigate the complexities of this. But it's just been, for me, I look for somebody who's faith focused, family focused, and that's just somebody who's just, and somebody who is willing to pour into me. And I have a few of those guys, different guys now.
That's great. Well, let's wrap this show up. Remind everybody how they can learn more about Operation Parent.
www.operationparent.org, not .com. That is we have a new website coming out here in just a couple of weeks. So if you want to wait a couple of weeks, you can do that too. But go look at us now. Check us out then. Information is on there how to contact us. 502-265-9045. Again, my name is Darrell Bramer, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love your feedback, and just come check us out.
Well, that information will be in the notes below. So if that was quick and you want to get some more information, it'll be easy for you. It's in the contact notes below. You'll be able to just click on it, make it really simple for you. Thank you, Darrell, as always.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you always, brother, for being here, sharing that. And I could tell you from firsthand experience, Operation Parents is information. I wish I would have had it earlier in my parenting, but I'm thankful for it now because I still have topics that I'm learning from it, even after getting ready to be 35 years as a parent for me. It's still important, and it's also important for me to be able to share with my kids, as I've got 4 grandkids now, to be able to show them a tool. so that they could be the parent that they want to be. So thank you so much for joining us again this time. I appreciate it so much. I look forward to seeing you again. Hopefully come back in 2 weeks. We'll have a new guest on, and we'll be able to chat again about leadership, about making a difference, and how nonprofits and long-term care organizations truly can make a difference in the lives of people, that every day it's impactful. So thanks again. See you in 2 weeks. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Blueprint Strategy Podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and inspired you to take action in your own organization. To stay connected and never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe and follow us on our socials. And remember, you can find more resources and information at www.thumbprint.consulting. Again, that's www.thumbprint.consulting. Until next time, keep finding ways to innovate and to leave your mark.